Okay, so in this second section, I'm going to go over UH Manoa's College of Education SATEP programs and fundamental components of how they're designed, because they are designed very intentionally, and there's some features that kind of really make it different from a lot of the other options out there. And so when we think about, well, why? Why should you come and be a part of UH Manoa's College of Education? Really, we like to think of it as you're getting the science of teaching, and you're also getting the art of teaching. So we know that teaching in itself is both a science and art. We know that there's research that's been done that says what works and we know what doesn't work. And so our plan is to teach that. But at the end of the day, no matter how much you teach a person, no two teachers are ever going to be the same. And that is really the art of teaching and being able to craft your own teaching practice over time and into becoming the teacher that you want to be. And really, one other aspect that I think is really central to what makes the College of Education stand out is this idea of having like a community of support. Teaching is not done in isolation, right? And so why would we expect you to get trained in isolation? So it's really about a community of practice and being really engaged and getting a lot of support from all the different people that are part of it. And so I'll kind of go through these in a little bit more detail. So really going to the science of teaching, you're really going to think of that as your coursework, right? So in each SATEP program that we offer, you're not only going to have different courses, but it's going to be really quality coursework that's specifically tailored to what you want to teach. There are some other programs out there that offer the same courses, whether you're going to be an elementary teacher or a calculus teacher or a special education teacher, it doesn't matter. They're all the same courses. But for us, it's not the case. We have very tailored coursework sequences that are really designed on specifically what you're looking to become a teacher in. And then on top of that, we are not test-based, we're field-based. And what that means is we're not expecting you to just learn everything on your own out of a textbook and then take a test, right? To show you how much you've learned. It's really field-based. It's really about learning the research and learning what actually works, but being able to test it out. And so a lot of the courses are going to have applied projects where you have to take what you're learning and actually do something with it and use it so that you can see it in action. And we think that's really important because, again, at the end of the day, that's not how we expect a new teacher to teach, right? Is to give tests and just have them read out of a book. It's really that art of teaching that goes with the science of teaching that's important. Another thing that really stands out with our programs is that we have really amazing high quality faculty who are also very specialized in their own fields, right? So they're leaders in their field, they've taught in their field. So when you take a course on how to teach math instruction, for example, you're not just getting anybody, you're getting somebody who's taught math and not only has taught math, but now they're researchers and leaders in math education. And so they can bring you the most up-to-date, current, valid strategies and research known-based practices so that when you're learning to teach math, for example, that you're learning what we really know about teaching good math, right? And so just know that it's not going to be one faculty member for all of your classes, right? It's not one perspective, it's not one set of knowledge and experiences. All of your courses are going to be taught by very specialized faculty, and you're going to have a whole range of people to work with and learn from throughout your whole program. Another cool thing is that we do have accessible programs. And what we mean by that is we have a different format that's called statewide. And what a statewide program offers is that we don't compromise the fact that, yes, you may be living on another island or in a rural, remote area of our state. You can still complete the program and live at home and get everything done. And what we've done is we'll hold all of your coursework online in the early evenings. It's usually 4:30 to 7 o'clock p.m. on weeknights. And this allows people to be home and attending classes, but attending it together, right? So attending it with your instructor, with the people that you're doing the program with, because it's going to be much more dynamic than just reading something and posting on a message board or something like that. So it is a very interactive course. And so we have been hosting our classes like this online using Zoom for many, many, many years, way before even COVID happened. And so we're pretty comfortable in this space. And so if you are looking for a more flexible licensure option because you're working and you're balancing family and school and all these things, then maybe our statewide option will be a really good fit for you. In addition, the statewide options do have a little bit of face-to-face. It's going to vary depending on the program, but it could be anywhere from maybe none in a semester to, I would say, a max of 3 or 4 in a semester where you might come just for the weekend or just for a Saturday. And so, those living on neighboring islands outside of Oahu, they can fly in perhaps in the morning and fly out in the evening. Anytime a student is required to come to Manoa for class, then there's going to be a travel reimbursement stipend attached to that for equity purposes. Now, it is a set amount and it kind of varies, but the rule of thumb is about $170 every trip. And so you get to make your own arrangements. You can stay the whole weekend if you want to, but you will receive a reimbursement amount so that you can attend in person every once in a while. And we think that is important because there are some things that you can't really do in your classes virtually. And so we save those and we're able to do that in these face-to-face opportunities. And so just know that even though the courses are always at a specific time. So we have synchronous courses. It is more accessible if you decide to choose one of our statewide options. Now let's move on to the art of teaching. And really, we're going to think of that as your field work. So every semester in the program, no matter which of our SATEPs you pursue, you're going to need to be in a classroom directly applying everything that you're learning so that you can start to build your own teaching craft. And so you get to really apply the things that you're learning as you learn them. As adult learners, we know that that works best. We don't want to just hold it in our memory and like 3 semesters down have to go into student teaching and have to try everything out for the first time. Instead, you're going to be trying things out throughout the entire program, and so you are going to need access to students that match, the field that you're getting licensed in. On top of that, because you're enrolling in a field course, we actually have faculty supervisors who come out to you in whatever class you're placed in, and they will do your observations, they'll give you feedback, and really the intent is to help you apply the things that you're learning in the classroom. And so it's really great way to get that feedback as you're going throughout the program so that you can get better and better. And really, one of the biggest things that we feel is so important to how we do things is the partnerships we do have with our schools. And so, because you're going to be in a classroom throughout your entire program, we want to make sure that you have access to, amazing mentor teachers where you can go in and learn under them and learn from them and see good teaching in action. And so we have really strong relationships with our partner schools and with the various mentors that we work with. And so it's just another aspect of what we do. We don't just hire like a random person out there to do your field work. It's people who are also involved in our programs. And oftentimes our faculty who are teaching our courses are also going into the field so that they can see how it really aligns from the research side down into the classroom. And just know that when it comes to our programs, because all of our programs are going to have its own faculty coordinator, the coordinator's responsibility is to make sure that all of our candidates have an appropriate field placement in a local school. And so they are in charge of securing and finding placements for you. I know that there are a lot of programs out there where you basically have to go find your own, and that's not going to be the case with us. In fact, we don't even want you to go and find your own. We already have those relationships established, and so we're going to want to make sure that you're placed into something that really aligns well with what you end up wanting to teach. And then just know that, again, going back to our statewide program design that has the online courses in the evenings, that is also a good option if you are already employed in a school. now. So our statewide programs can possibly accommodate what we call on-the-job positions, where if you're an emergency hire, if you're a long-term sub, even possibly if you're like an educational assistant, then case by case, our faculty would go out and review the situation and see if it perfectly aligns with what you're getting licensed in. And usually we're looking for two things. It has to be the right age group and it has to be the right content area. So, for example, if someone is hired as a long-term sub in an elementary classroom, they cannot do the post-bac in secondary, and they wouldn't be able to do the special education one unless it was an elementary special education setting. And so we're always kind of just looking to make sure that it does match. And that is because the Hawaii Teacher Standards Board, HTSB, will make sure that all student teaching has to be in the field that you're getting licensed in. And so we do all of that up front. We just want to make sure that any candidate who's enrolled in our program, if they are hired, we want to make sure that it's going to meet that requirement. And then lastly, going into just the amount of support that you would receive in our programs. Just know that we have a very strong mission and vision in the College of Education. Being the largest producer of teachers in this state, it means so much more to us to produce quality teachers. We understand that our communities and our schools and our students, are dependent on having good teachers. And so for us, we're really committed to producing and supporting good people becoming good teachers into our schools. Um, and so just know that we have a very strong commitment for that, right? So it's not about, hey, this is what you need to get done and just check it off and bye-bye. It's really about creating like a family, right? And a community while you're with us so that we can make sure that you're taken care of and that you have what you need to be able to be successful. And just some evidence or kind of data to kind of back that up is, when you look at the 5-year retention rate of teachers in the state, ours for UH is we're at an 80% retention after 5 years, whereas the state average is 50%. So you can see a huge gap there, and that just goes to show what some of the others might be a lot lower than that, right? And so again, it's not just about getting you licensed and into a classroom. We really understand that we want you to get in and enjoy it and stay in it, right? And be able to really love and have that passion for teaching. And so if that's what you want to do, then let us help you get there. And at the end of the day, we really believe that preparation does matter. And so we take that very seriously. And so we're going to put in a lot of different supports to make sure that you can get the best preparation possible. Another important thing to know about our programs is we do have something called professional dispositions. And that is just goes with this idea that whether we like it or not, teaching is a profession and there is a certain standard that the community will place on somebody for being a teacher, right? And so there's certain characteristics and traits that teachers need to have. And so our model of how we've done it is think of it as just blooming into the teacher that you want to be. And so we will support that process. And really, it's on these key areas. So starting with that privilege that you have as a teacher. So your kuleana, really understanding that you're not just going in because it's a job, that it's so much more than that. The privilege and the right and the responsibility that you have for the children and young adults in your classroom is so important to just understand and make sure that you are doing the best that you can in every way possible. Pelina is really talking about the fact that as teachers, it's all about relationships now. And that's why AI and all that is never going to just totally wipe out education because the thing that AI can't do is really support the relationships and those connections. And whether it's with your students, with your families, with your coworkers, with your admin, with the support services, there's all these people involved in education. And so we want to provide opportunities for our candidates to really learn how to foster and grow those partnerships, which really connects to the next one. So alulike, which is really striving together and cooperating with one another. And so it's that collaboration piece. So yes, you need to build relationships and you also need to be able to work well with others. And so we're going to provide opportunities within the programs to be able to build that up. And then this one, I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce. But one of the most important things for our profession is this really strong sense of the importance of reflection. And that goes with the idea that you can be teaching for 30 years and you are still learning how to teach. Like it never becomes where you've perfected it and you're good to go. Good teachers are constantly adapting and changing and growing with their students, and your students are always going to be different, right? So every year it's going to change. And so for us, I think it's really important to understand that we are here to give you all these tools and to give you lots of support. We're not here to see that you wrote a lesson and it went perfectly, right? Because it's not. Oftentimes it's not going to. And so really we care a lot about, well, what's the reflectant? Like after you do your lesson, what would you change? How would you make it better? What happened? Like, why do you think that happened? What could be done, next time if it happens again? Those kinds of skills and processes are sometimes more important than the actual task at hand. And then lastly, aloha aina, really understanding that, again, going back to the fact that we are the largest preparer of teachers in the state, that it's important to understand what it means to teach here and in the communities here and to really embrace and love these communities and these schools and these children and all the things that our wonderful, state can provide. So the last thing I'll say about professional dispositions is really just, well, why do we have these? And why do I want to introduce it to you it now before you even get in the program? Is that some people will ask me, well, why do we have to interview, right, to get into your program? And the answer is because there's certain characteristics of good teachers that we're looking for. And so if you are participating in an interview, just know that these are kinds of the key things that we're kind of looking for through that interview process. Okay, so some really key features of what makes our programs unique. My favorite one is this one. It's called the cohort model. And what that means is that when you apply to a program and you get admitted, you're actually going to be admitted as a family. And that's going to be your cohort family. And what's really cool is from the day one all the way through to graduation, you're going to be with your cohort learning and growing together. And why do we do that? Is really again, going back to that idea of some more support. Like everybody comes in with their own experiences and their own expertise and their own knowledge. A lot of people have been working in school settings already. And so we are all stronger together rather than individually, right? And so when you're going through the program, it's really nice to do it as a community. And you'll really appreciate the amount of support that you're getting from the other people in your cohort. Because it's just nice to know that you're not alone and that you can lean on each other when you need it and you can use each other for resources and information, not only when you're in the program, but what we find is cohorts stay together way long after they graduate and they can still reach out to each other. They're spread out across the state. And so whenever you need something, you call on your cohort members. And so we think that that's a really cool feature of the way that we do things. But another benefit of the cohort is the fact that your courses are all reserved for your cohort. So gone are the days where you have to worry about waking up super early on registration day to try and grab the courses before they fill up. You don't need to worry about that at all because it's cohorted. That means we already know everybody who's going to be taking these classes, and these classes are actually sitting there for you. And so you just register for them when we give you the registration info. And so this allows that you never get stuck, right? You're never going to need a course that's not available, or the course fills up and you can't take it. Like the way that we've structured it is we know exactly what you're taking every semester and therefore you don't have any problems down the road. So if we say it's an 18 months program, then everything's going to be designed in 18 months. And same with the 2-year programs. And so it's just a really nice package deal where it's just one less thing that you have to worry about. And the cool thing about having all the courses sequenced is because everybody's taking the same courses, we can actually structurally build upon knowledge course after course. Whereas in other models where you're just registering for whatever course you can get at the time, they live in isolated bubbles, right? But these ones say, hey, no, we know what you took the first semester and we can build upon it in your second semester. And so just the quality of what you're learning throughout your courses is stronger when it's sequenced in a cohort style way. And then lastly, and one of the most important reasons that we've stuck to this model is the success behind it. So we have extremely high retention and graduation rates for our programs in the 80s and 90%. And so just know that if this is something you want to do and you commit to it, then again, we have it structured in a way that'll get you through. Now, of course, situations happen, and if, case by case, if someone needs to jump out of their cohort and go off sequence, then that's fine. The cohort coordinator can work with them. But for the large majority, they're going to go exactly the way it's planned. There are two downsides to having a cohort model. The first is if you see that it's a part-time program, you can't ask to do it full-time and finish in half the time. So we don't have that kind of flexibility to be able to offer every course all the time. And so because these courses are being offered very intentionally, you can't really change it, right? So you can't go from full-time to part-time and part-time to full-time. You're really, when you apply to it, you're really committing to being able to do it the way that it's designed. The second downside is because we're enrolling as a family, we enroll once a year. We can't enroll multiple times. And so the window to apply to our programs are really important because if you miss that deadline, it's going to take a whole year before that opportunity opens up again. And so timing is important. So you'll want to pay attention to which program you're interested in and what semester it actually runs in so that you can time it properly to apply when the next cohort is about to start. So again, going back to the cohorted model, these are just some photos. So each photo is a different cohort. And what's great is every single program and track has its own cohort. And so this is just 1 year's worth of graduates. So it's family style approach, but yes, we do have a lot of students, but it's not going to feel that way because you're going to do the program as a group. And typically it's about 15 to 25 students per cohort. So another cool feature of what UH Mānoa can offer is that we have something called dual licensure pathways. And what that means is now you're doing a program where you're going to get two teaching licenses by the time you graduate. And this is always within a degree program. So whether we have dual licensure options at the bachelor's degree and at the Master of Education in Teaching option. There are no dual licensure options at the post-bac option because that is your fast track to get licensed. So we're not going to throw on extra licenses. Um, so think of it this way. If you're going to pursue a dual licensure program, it means you're doing a 3-for-1. You're going to get your degree and you're going to get two SATEP teaching licenses in two different fields. Why do that? Well, it's because it's going to provide you specialized skills. So now you're going to have more strategies, more tools, right? And you can support more types of students because you're learning skills for both licensure areas. And then lastly, obviously, it leads to more job options because now after you graduate, you can actually take a position in either one, depending on if you took some funding. Some funding might say you have to start in one for a certain number of years, but at the end of the day, you can take jobs in either area that you get licensed in. So when you look at all of our programs, anything that has a plus sign in it means that it's a dual license and you're getting those two areas that are listed. Just keep in mind that if you do pursue a dual licensure program, the biggest change that'll happen for your program is now you need two student teaching placements. And so that can get really tricky for people who are already hired in schools. But if you're not hired in schools, it's great to just get two done, two licenses, all in the same program. For those in special education who do get hired before they get their license and they're an emergency hire, we do have a special support called Muse, which stands for Mentoring Unique Special Educators. And basically, we have a team of previous Hawaii DOE special education teachers who now work at UH Manoa, and their full-time job is to support emergency hires. And what's great is they're non-evaluative. They go in, they get to know you, your school, your students, your admin, and they're really there to bridge the day-to-day needs that you have because the program is not going to teach you everything you know on day one. And because special education teachers not only teach during the school day, but they have additional responsibilities such as IEPs and care coordination, there's these other duties that they have to fulfill. And so Muse will really come in and just help our emergency hires in special education navigate all the things and give them the tools that they need to be able to make it through. And so we do survey our emergency hires after their program, and you'll see when we ask them, how effective was it? Did you like having an emergency hire Muse mentor? And almost always they're like, oh my gosh, yes, that was a saver, best thing ever. It is very unique to UH Manoa. I don't know of any other program that provides like a non-evaluative kind of mentorship for those who are already on the job, especially in special education. Another, to wrap it out, just kind of tell the types of support we want to give to our candidates. We started a new teacher closet where we collect donations on classroom supplies because we know once you get your first classroom, it costs a lot to kind of set it up. And so all of our graduates can come by the new teacher closet when they get their first classroom and fill up a box with whatever they need so that they can get started on the right fit. And so thank you to all of the donors. We've had entire schools and retired teachers and just tons of people out in the community coming out to support these efforts. And we even have been mailing boxes of supplies to our neighbor island graduates. And to wrap it up in terms of just, well, why are our programs designed this way? And, why do we focus so much on quality? Is, well, there are two key, like, the Oscars of teaching, kind of like, how do you know if you've made it or if you're like the best in teaching? There's two awards you can win. The first is we have the Hawaii State Teacher of the Year, which is also through all the different complex area teachers of the year. So that's an amazing recognition for really high quality teachers all across the state. And then we also have something called a Milken Educator Award winner who get $25,000 for being the Milken Educator of the Year. And so I do want to point out that this was in 2024, but what was crazy was that the 2024-2025 Hawaii State Teacher of the Year is a graduate from UH Manoa's post-bac program. And then if you look at the two Milken Educator Award winners, the woman, let me move out of the way. The woman is from the Masters of Education and Teaching program, and then the man is from the Bachelor in Special Education program. So they're all UH Manoa graduates, and they all graduated from a different type of SATEP pathway that we offer. And so I really think it's just testament to our faculty and our community and the way our programs are designed to really say, hey, if this is what you want to do, then let us help you train to become the best teacher you can be. Okay, and then the next section will just be going over all the different program options you have.